throwing the phone around.
Throwing the phone. Hey guys, this is Mandy and
Hi guys, Abby.
and she just stole her off of a phone call to come in and chat with me. Thank you, girlfriend. This is Friday with Friends. Friday with Friends is our opportunity to chat with you about what's going on in the market, to answer any questions that you may have so that we can be your realtor of choice when there's anything that comes up, whether it be needs with your family, with your friends, with yourself, with your coworkers. We hope to be your realtor of choice.
Exactly. That sounds perfect. We love it. And I feel like we haven't been on recently, so we've missed you guys.
I've missed you.
We've missed you so much.
Missed you all. So what are we chatting about today, Abs?
So today we are talking about the shifting market. Because if anyone has been reading the newspaper, watching the news, talking with their agents, their friends, everyone knows that the spring and summer were just absolutely insane. And we've been talking about that a ton on our Friday with Friends, but what we're seeing and what a lot of people are also talking about in the news and other agents that we work with is that we are seeing a little bit of a shift. So we want to talk about that as our job to give you guys all of the up-to-date information on what's going on in the market, as Mandy said. So that's what we're talking about today.
And sometimes the idea of a shift is like so terrifying.
I know.
And I think we all, like, rightfully so, have like the PTSD of the 2008.
Yeah.
And that was a huge bubble, and that it burst and it affected a lot of people. And what we want to do is to prepare you with as much insight, so as you are making these decisions and choices, you're feeling like ultra confident, ultra up to date, and gonna do what's best, but you're also not having that fear. Yes, there's the unknown, but just for you to kind of know what's going on and feel a little bit more educated about it.
Yes, and exactly. Everyone is so much more educated that we don't expect. Shifts are natural. They occur up and down, whether it's seasonal.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi, guys. But, again, everyone is way more educated now than they were in 2008, where I'm sure you agree we're not going to expect something absolutely crazy. It's really just natural ebbs and flows.
Yeah, and the good news is here in Rochester, we really weren't hit that hard. Yes, there was an impact, and as we priced, we knew that we were very aware of what the early 2000s did for us. But now we're definitely to a point where we don't think it's going to do a dramatic impact, but every little bit is what we are ultra aware of to make sure that we're providing our clients with the best service and that expert knowledge that we're talking about.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So thanks for tuning in. That's what we're going to be chatting about today. If you do know of anyone that's looking to buy or sell or should hear this, make sure you're tagging them, sharing with them. Give us a like, give us a love. Thank you so much for your interaction. Comment with any questions or thoughts. Kathy, as a realtor, if you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to add in on that. We would love any questions or any interaction. So, like Abby said, Hashtag live if you're watching this live, or hashtag Molly, Ashley, hashtag live if you're watching this live, hashtag replay if you're watching this later, so we can make sure if you have any questions, we don't miss you.
Perfect.
All right.
Sounds like a plan. So let's, anything else before we jump in?
No, I think that's perfect. Hey, Erin.
Hi, guys. So let's talk a little bit, because I think for, our listeners and viewers, listeners, I listen to too many podcasts, I think. But when we're, for everybody watching and listening, I think in order to understand a shift and what that means, we should really describe the different types of markets that are possible and what we're in now and what we're maybe going towards and how that might work. So
exactly.
Let's talk about the three different types of markets.
So the first idea of a market is what was a seller's market, and that's what we experienced in the spring. That is total awesomeness and craziness for sellers,
yes,
but a huge challenge for buyers. So what it means is there is not enough inventory for the demand of buyers. So that means when a house hits the market, those buyers are jumping all over it, and multiple, hey Matt, hey girl, hey, that the buyers are jumping all over it, multiple offers driving that price up. So the sellers are very, very happy, and then the buyers are the ones that are really struggling. So that's a quick example of a seller's market. Buyer's market?
Buyer's market is pretty much the opposite. The amount of inventory is much higher and the amount of buyers is lower. So ultimately that allows for a lower price, less activity kind of overall, but really putting the buyers in the driver's seat.
And some of the key indicators of that is
houses stay on the market longer, the prices might not go as high, you might not have as many offers or showings or even activity at an open house.
Got it. And then the third one, which is this beautiful place, is a balanced market. And
Which we have for like a week, right? Just kidding.
10 days. And so we kind of have a little tool that we want to share with you guys that might be a little like geeky, but I hope you like it. And we'll fly through it quick if you're not interested. But a balanced market means that there is about 2 to 3 months of inventory out there that buyers have to pick from. And that's called the absorption rate. So how quickly will the current houses that are on the market get absorbed?
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, I stole it. I
stole it
from you.
You stole it.
Okay, so we were running some numbers because we're crazy number folk. And you want to share some of the numbers that...
Yeah.
So like we said, around 2 to 3 months, probably closer to 3 months, means it's a balanced market. Go.
Take it away. Okay, perfect. So,
Hey, Mal. Hi, Lindsay. Hey, Mike.
baby's so cute. So what we looked at is all of Monroe and all of Ontario County because our team, really goes everywhere. So what we looked at was all of Monroe, all of Ontario County with different price points. So we did $150,000 to $250,000, and
What'd you
we are
find?
at. Well, we are at an absorption rate of about 1.43. It's about exact 1.43 months.
So what does that mean?
Meaning that it's going to take a house on average that long to absorb or sell in the market.
Mm-hmm. So that means is, I would imagine earlier it was like we had an absorption rate of like half a month, like of 2 weeks. And now that's growing, but you can see between 150 and 250, we're still under that 2 to 3 month threshold. So we're still feeling that seller's market. What about the next level up, 250 to 350?
So at the next level, which obviously increasing going 250 to 350 is jumps to 5.8 months.
And that's powerful. And I'm sure you guys may be feeling that. If you are a current buyer or a current seller, if you're a current seller, we're not getting that strong activity because we are seeing that the sellers aren't in as much of a control there.
As they maybe were a month ago.
And even higher, 350 to 500, it's at 4.1 months. So it's still higher than that, but it's nothing crazy. I mean, there are sometimes, I don't know what the highest was. I'm sure Gary Keller would know, but it goes a lot higher than just those 3 months, just 3 months. So we're getting into that, we think that we're filtering more into that buyer's market. However, there's a lot that happens with seasons. So Is this a seasonal shift or is this an entire market shift? And will we not recover and have that balance back out next spring? We don't know. We're not quite sure yet, but we're staying really close eye on it. What we're finding in DC and some of our agents from South Carolina, from South Carolina, these people were saying that they're really feeling a stronger shift, but we always feel like everything a little bit later up here in Rochester, and a lot of it has to do with our price points are a little bit lower, so it's not as dramatic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's where a lot of my clients, Mandy, you don't have a crystal ball? Come on, we need to get one of those. But we do a ton of, obviously education on the market. But what we're, sometimes see is we don't necessarily know if this is seasonal and if it's just getting cold and, we're getting into the winter and the holiday months. Is it a normal seasonal or are we shifting into that balanced and then eventually that buyer's market? And we don't really know that until we kind of come out of the winter time into the spring and see how the market reacts.
Yeah, and the best thing we can do is keep that solid pulse and have where we'll go next. Okay, we're done with numbers, but where we'll get more into what does that mean to you guys. So when we're talking with our clients, we want to share some of the conversations that we're having because we truly feel strong and fierce conversations with your agent that is an expert in this field is how you will succeed, whether we be at the maximum, the downturn, the bottom, or an upturn. It doesn't matter where you are. If you have an agent that is on your side, that's protecting you, that has a really great grasp on the market, these are the conversations and the thoughts that we're having that we want to share with you.
Perfect.
Okay. Want me to start with buyers?
Sure.
Okay, so I was talking with Leslie and Alyssa on our team too to just make sure that I'm really getting this insight into what's happening on that buyer side. And so
they're our buyer team.
Our buyer team. They're amazing. They're
amazing.
Give us a like and love if you are madly obsessed with them as we are. So think about where buyers are. If you are a buyer, you just went through that spring market. Which means you're barely surviving because it was tough. You had to drop everything. You were multiple offers every second.
Yeah.
You had to decide if you wanted to like a house in 13 seconds because you needed to put an offer in the 15th second. Like, it was intense and it was a lot.
Craziness.
So we're finding that there was this wave of buyers that literally, I know, I'm obsessed with them, Molly. There's this wave of buyers that have waited so long that maybe they've renewed their lease, or maybe just mentally they're a little bit, we can call it picky or selective. They're really saying, listen, we've waited this long. We want to find what we really like. And the other piece is they're recognizing that they can wait. Yes, in our 150 to 250, things are moving a little bit quicker, but in our higher end, our buyers can wait. They don't have to decide that night, and so they're not. You were just saying about showing feedback with your listings?
Yeah, people are saying, they like it, but they're not really ready to move right away. And I'm like, I don't understand. I haven't had that feedback in a year. Because what we've been experiencing is, okay, you write an offer or you show the house and you're moving quickly. You're moving quickly to write an offer, no matter what day, time, holiday it is. Because
we would never suggest, if there was a buyer that wasn't willing to write, we would never suggest showing that house because we're like, listen, it's going to be gone over the weekend. Like, I don't want to waste your time.
Yeah, so it's definitely, we're seeing that buyers are becoming a little bit more in the driver's seat. And another thing is it gives them the time to really understand, okay, what are the terms of my offer going to be? I maybe not be competing with as many people as I was a few months ago when I was looking. So I can add a contingency on selling my home. I can maybe be a little bit more aggressive with the price. I can add different terms. I can have an inspection, things like that too.
Yeah. And I just think that you brought up that contingency piece, which is so important because we were getting buyers who wanted to sell their house but couldn't because they had nowhere they wanted to. They couldn't find a home that they could move into or that they could put an offer in because it would mean they were contingent on their own house to sell. And when you're competing with 10 other offers, you can't go in contingent. And now they finally can. And so that's exciting. Now, there's a lot of moving parts still there, but there's at least that option. So the contingency is a great point. If you're a buyer, you can consider going contingent. Hey, Holly. Hey, Bill. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, guys.
So yes, and then the other thing is what we always see. So in the realtor world, we're constantly getting updates with new prices, and we are seeing price reduction, price reduction.
In our emails.
in our emails on the MLS, and we're seeing that that you can wait for a price reduction and you don't have to go over list price like you did previously. So those are just some quick conversations if you're a buyer to think about.
Definitely. So let's do, because we have so many people joining us. Hi, guys.
Hey, Meg.
Let's talk a little bit about, what we're talking about today. So I'll let you sip your water. It's clearly not coffee.
Hi, Carrie. I missed you.
Hi, guys.
It's been 10 seconds.
So we're talking about right now in this episode, the shift that may or may not be occurring in the market right now and kind of what we're seeing. So with buyers, Mandy talked a lot about the fact that you might not have to drop everything you're doing to look at a house tomorrow, as it will still be available. Days on market are increasing. It gives our buyers the opportunity to be a little bit more comfortable with their offer. They might not have to go over list price. They can add some contingencies that they weren't able to add previously. So that's what we're talking about today. Should I get into the seller side?
Yeah. So what is it? What expectations are you working to managing, or advice that you would give to a seller in this market?
So in this market, things are definitely changing. For a lot of my sellers, they've heard the last 3, 6, 9 months, oh my gosh, you need to sell your house right now. You'll get great offers, multiple offers, things like that. So it's definitely a change in mindset and definitely expectations. What did Megan say? It's crazy how much seems to have changed from the spring.
I know, Megan. It's crazy.
Definitely. So for
Hey, Andrea.
Hi, Andrea. So for my sellers, what we're doing is really just working on, managing expectations, because instead of getting 12 showings the first day, we might have 1 or 2 or 3. And we might not get an offer as quickly. The house might sit on the market a little bit longer, things like that. So our days on market is increasing. And we might not get that multiple offers that we did in the spring when it was absurd. Hot. So that's really important, is to manage the expectations. And another thing is pricing. The last 6 months, we've seen that every house has sold over asking. So when we're
or even not even over asking, but probably over what we would have expected
market value.
Yeah, market value would have been. Because we could list it for anything, but we're really saying like, man, it's getting high.
Yes, and we're selling above market value. That's a perfect point. So when I'm looking at, you're so smart.
Thank you so much.
Gosh. When we're looking, I don't even know what I'm talking about. When we're looking at comparables to price a home in this new market, quote unquote, we can't necessarily use comparables, let's say, from the last 6 months.
Yes.
We really have to go, back a little bit further and analyze that, because that definitely can make a difference, because houses were selling above market value, and those comparables might not be direct comparables for us in this market now.
And if you were going off of that price to say, hey, listen, this house sold for that, we're starting to say, okay, let's revisit what feedback we're getting. Let's revisit how many showings. And that's one of the things Abby's working with all the sellers right now, all of our sellers, to go through, okay, this is how we priced it at this point based off this knowledge. And now we're saying, we're getting out into the market and we're talking about feedback and really learning as much as we can to say, like, what do we think is a fair price right now, and how aggressive do we need to be? Earlier on, in the spring, if the house was on the market for a week, we'd be like, we've got to do a price reduction. Let's go. It's it's dramatic. Whereas now, if the house is in the market for a little bit longer, it does not mean it does not necessarily mean your house is overpriced. It just means that little more time. Now, if we're into months, Abby's going to have every single specific conversation based off location and price point and neighborhood. But that pricing conversation is much different than what we've had in previous months. And you need to stay on the cutting edge, because if you get to the point where you're chasing that decreased price, you're going to have to continue to decrease. So that's why it's important to really not look at comparables from that really inflated time, and to really be cognizant of where we're at today.
Yep, definitely. And so that's my job, is, looking at the feedback, looking at the market. We're not just, and your agent as well, it's not just putting it on the market and saying, okay, catch you later. It's really important to track what's going on in the market. What are the comparables telling us? What's the feedback telling us? How many showings have we had? All of that good stuff. So it's really important, especially as we're seeing this shift that I would say was in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been pretty recent.
It's crazy how clear you can really see it. It's really important for us to not, let our properties get stale. We're constantly doing new things, do marketing, different things like that to keep it fresh.
And what we're finding too is, hey Bailey, hey Ashley, hey Marie. So the conversations we're having with our clients right now is that we want to maintain really good relationships with all of the other agents out there. So I see a bunch of agents on here. We love you guys. But that it's so important to maintain those good relationships, because you can see the buyers are pretty selective and picky, and the sellers want their price. And that's a problem where we all have to meet in the middle. Like we all need to be having these conversations like, hey, let's recognize, why do you feel our house is overpriced? Oh, okay, this. Why do you feel buyers are being a little bit too picky? That we need to make sure that we're having those conversations, so how we can bring a buyer and a seller together. So I want to, if you're a buyer or if you're a seller, see if any of this resonates with you. And again, at the same time, the market's the market. You're going to have great opportunities whenever you choose to take them. Some people end up changing everything, and they say, I'm going to buy a forever house, or I'm going to buy a starter house if things aren't working out. But make sure you're having these conversations with your realtor. Make sure you're having these conversations with your partner or your spouse to say, do you think we're being picky, or do you think we're crazy with our price? And that's where you need a friend on your side. You need to see what I did. You need someone on your side that's going to have these hard conversations to just make sure you're in good hands and you're making the right decisions, because it's tricky, it's challenging, it's changing every day. And when we are able to help as many buyers and sellers as we are, we see it at a really high level that allows us to have some good insights that we hope you've appreciated today.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something where, because we've had the conversation, well, gosh, should our sellers not sell now? And that's definitely a question that we're probably going to continue to get. And I always use it as the example, because I was reading an article earlier, and they say the shifts over years are really similar to the small shifts that we see with the seasons. Obviously, it's freezing here. I don't know why we all live here, but we're together. I know, I do too.
We love four
Christmas.
Hashtag fall.
Oh
Wait, guys, did you see there was the most hilarious meme, and it said Humpty Dumpty had a great fall?
I know.
And
that's
it was
you.
like, it was picking pumpkins, and like Humpty Dumpty was picking pumpkins. I was like laughing hysterically. My husband's like, you are a nerd.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're so funny.
Back to it, Abs.
I don't know. You messed me up. Oh, seasons. So, obviously we see that as it gets cold, the amount of activity decreases and vice versa in the spring and summer. And, I always use the example for our clients that sell in the winter. As a buyer, you're not going to be trekking through the snow on Christmas Eve, for example, to look at a house unless you're serious, ready, and motivated. Yeah. So there might not be as much activity in the winter, aka let's call it this maybe buyer's market for our sellers, but the people that are coming through are serious.
Yes.
And that's something to keep in mind too. Yes, there's going to be these shifts, but you really need to be educated on the market. Most importantly, talk with your agent and feel comfortable, because there's never a bad time. It's just making sure that you're doing it right.
Amen to that.
Mic drop.
Well, that's all we have for you. So today on Friday with Friends, we talked about the current market, what a shift is, what we're sensing, what we're feeling. We threw out some extra numbers there on the absorption rate, and that we're finding that under 250. It's still definitely 250,000 sale price. It's still in that seller's market, but as we get up a little bit more, we are above that. So Dustin, thank you so much
Thanks
for tuning
for watching,
in,
guys.
So if you guys have any other questions, we hope that we can be your realtor of choice. If you do have any real estate needs, whether they just be questions, whether you want to sell in 5 years, we are all about building relationships and making sure that you're prepared and that we can answer any questions that you may have, so that when the time is ready to have service yourself or to be able to use our services or refer them out, we're your realtor of choice and we love what we do. So that's all. Thanks for tuning in with
Friday with the camera off again.
Oh gosh, I almost knocked the camera off on the way in. All right. friendonyourside.com. You can find us on the website. You can find us at Friend Team Real Estate on Facebook,
Instagram, Twitter, all of it.
All those
Comment if you have any questions after watching it later. We have tons of more information that we can get into that we don't necessarily dive into today. So any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and we can connect and make sure that you fully understand everything. So when you are ready, we're always here.
I love it. Thank you guys.
Bye, guys.
Have a great weekend.